this is your host Andres, and I welcome you to Where You Listening? An exploration of blackness in the songs we love. Today we'll be listening to Ojos Chinos, Chinese Eyes, composed by Kito Vélez with el Gran Combo de Puerto Rico. Our guest host for today will be Susan, our graphic content creator.
Hello, Susan here. Yes, today's episode accompanies our most recent Mixedtape podcast single, Hong Kong Mambo, where I explored the experiences of Asian American dancers. I strongly recommend you take a listen as we continue our never-ending journey to unlearn racism.
You heard Susan. Back to the song. The original version of Ojos Chinos was first introduced in the 1964 album Ojos Chinos Jala Jala. I actually hadn't heard the original version until making this episode. The composer, Kito Vélez, was born in Puerto Rico in 1923. He was also a trumpetist and arranger. Ojos Chinos is without a doubt one of his most successful compositions. The band, El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico, was founded in 1962 by a group of musicians that included Kito Vélez. The name of the band translates to the Great Group of Puerto Rico. They are also known as Los Mulatos del Sabor, the Flavor Mulattos, and La Universidad de la Salsa, the Salsa University. Prior to launching El Gran Combo, the founding combo, led by Afro-Puerto Rican pianist Rafael Itier, split from the famous Afro-Puerto Rican band Cortijo y su Combo. Although the separation from Cortijo wasn't a happy one, it is argued that El Gran Combo kept the legacy of Cortijo y su Combo by upholding the visibility of Afro-Puerto Ricans and Afro-Latinos. El Gran Combo is one of the greatest salsa bands of all time. They have survived for 59 years and have produced more than 50 albums and a myriad of songs, including classics such as Un Verano en Nueva York, Brujería, and of course today's song, Ojos Chinos. I love El Gran Combo. Our dear host Melissa loves El Gran Combo. Both of our parents love El Gran Combo as well. We both grew up listening to the band in Colombia and in New York. However, as Melissa reminds me often, we all have blind spots. Would this love of ours for El Gran Combo be true if we weren't willing to point at the blind spots as well? Probably not. So here we are, using today's song to grow together. Let's listen. El Gran Combo sings. El chinito quiere arroz frito, bien frito, de Puerto Rico.
The chinito wants fried rice, well fried, from Puerto Rico.
El Gran Combo starts directly with the offensive lines that taint the rest of this catchy song. The singer builds the lazy stereotype of a presumably Puerto Rican Chinese man by using a fake Chinese accent in Spanish. The fake accent entails the substitution of the letter L for the letter R. For instance, instead of saying arroz, the singer says alos. The stereotype is complete when the man declares his desire for fried rice, a dish common in many Asian countries including China. The singer uses the diminutive suffix ito, which communicates endearment and proximity. But that is not all. Regarding diminutive terms such as negrita and chinito in Cuba, philosopher Sean Alfonso Wells writes in his doctoral dissertation that, I quote, "The fact that blanco, white, is absent from these terms is indicative that their origins were based on the asymmetrical power dynamics of master and slave, or master and indentured servant." El Gran Combo sings. Mira qué bonito tiene la chinita los ojitos. con una sola guiñada, yo me tengo que poner rojito.
Look how beautiful eyes the chinita has. With one wink from her, I'm going to blush.
The reference to the beautiful eyes of the chinita here takes us back to the title of the song, Ojos Chinos. As an expression, Ojos Chinos is closest in meaning to the expression Asian eyes, and refers to eyes with an epicantic fall, a feature common in people of East Asian descent. On closer look, the title reveals a common, insensitive stereotype that exists in Latin America in which the word chino, or China, in its meaning of Chinese, is used as a substitute for East Asian or East Asian looking.
At this point, it's worth talking a little bit about the Asian diaspora in Latin America. Though there is evidence of Asian presence in Latin America tracing back to the early 1600s, the biggest migration of Asians started in the mid-1800s because of the decline of slavery and the growth of market for New World cash crops, which demanded laborers. Between 1847 and 1874, 225,000 Chinese men migrated to Cuba and Peru to work mostly as indentured servants on sugar plantations. Their working and living conditions were extremely precarious. In Cuba, their own freedom was very often compromised. Today, we see the largest population of Chinese in Cuba, Peru, and Mexico, while Brazil has the largest number of people of Japanese descent outside of Japan. We can see Asian presence in Latin America from foods like pan chino in Mexico, to politicians like former president of Peru, Alberto Fujimori, a son of Japanese immigrants, from Barrio Chino in Cuba to the Liberdade district in northern Brazil.
El Gran Combo sings, yo me casaré contigo en la iglesia de Cantón, porque yo te quiero mucho, nena linda de mi corazón.
I will marry you in the church of Canton, because I love you very much, beautiful girl of my heart. Canton here is the Romanized name for Guangzhou, the capital of the coastal province of Guangdong in southern China. I called my mom to confirm this. Hi, Mom!
El Gran Combo sings, si yo tuviera un palacio, allí tú serías la reina, porque tú me tienes loco, China, con esos ojitos lindos. Tú me tienes hechizado con ese cuerpito lindo. Yo daría toda mi vida, nena, porque te quedes conmigo.
If I had a palace, there you would be the queen, because you got me crazy, China, with those beautiful eyes. You put me under a spell with that beautiful body. I would give up my whole life, girl, for you to stay with me. We often see women as muses in salsa songs, especially negritas and mulatas, with lyrics describing their physical appearance, from the smallness of their waist to the roundness of their hips and butt. The choice of words here, with the compliments to the China's body, presents the Chinese woman also as a muse. In this sense, the song sounds like many other songs in which the singer is infatuated with an attractive woman.
El Gran Combo sings, yo me casaré contigo porque yo te quiero mucho. Tú me tienes medio loco, China, con esos ojitos lindos.
I will marry you because I love you very much. You got me half crazy, China, with those beautiful eyes.
We move now into the call and response part of the song, in which the singers respond, mi chili. Chili here works as another endearment term with which the singer refers to the China. El Gran Combo sings, qué linda es Chile, yo no sé qué voy a hacer sin ti, porque yo te quiero solo a ti. Oye, qué buena es Chile, oye, qué linda es Chile. ¿De quién son esos ojitos? Ella me dice, tuyitos, papito. Chinita quiere a chinito, chinito quiere a chinita, a la China del Oriente.
How beautiful is Chile? I don't know what I'm going to do without you, because the only one I want is you. Listen, how hot is Chile? Listen, how beautiful is Chile? Whose are those eyes? She tells me, yours, daddy. Chinita loves the chinito. Chinito loves the chinita from the east. Here, we come back to the theme of women as muses, but this time we see the fondness flourish specifically because of an Asian feature. The focus is on the beauty of the eyes as the defining feature of this Asian woman. Eyes have often been the defining trait of Asian people. We see this in cartoons and drawings. As an Asian American woman, it was interesting to hear Asian eyes being talked about in an endearing and ode-like way, since in the US, Asian eyes have often been made fun of. The impression I get from this song, and a few others featuring Asian muses in Latin music, is that Asian eyes are seen as beautiful and alluring.
The play of words, chinito loves the chinita, is exquisite. Even though the meaning of China during the entire song is Chinese woman, the word China or Chino has had more than one meaning in Latin America. Dr. Marco Polo Hernández Cuevas documents that in a famous Spanish language dictionary from 1950, the word had two entries, one for Chinese and another one for the various meanings of the word in Latin America, including, I quote, the child of a mulatto man and a black woman, and I quote again, the children of Indian, in other words native, and Sambo. The word is also a term of endearment independent of a person's race in countries such as Colombia, Mexico, and Cuba, although it lacks many of the negative associations that the term negrito carries. Dr. Sean Alfonso Wells writes for Cuba that, I quote, Chino, priorly used as a reference to blacks, was expanded to include the Chinese indentured laborers. Dr. Wells' findings are consistent with those of Dr. Hernández Cuevas, indicating that the meaning that relates the word Chino or China to Afro-descendant people precedes chronologically the meaning of the word as Chinese. Get it now? Chinita loves the chinita? So be careful out there when translating the word Chino or China, because they don't translate to Chinese in many situations.
El chilito vuelve a querer a los fritos, bien frito, le Puerto Rico.
The singer says, El chinito vuelve a querer arroz frito, bien frito, de Puerto Rico.
The chinito wants fried rice again, well fried, from Puerto Rico.
And the nasty lines appeared for the second, and thankfully, last time, right in time to accompany a collection of sounds meant to emulate Chinese sounds.
Exactly. Here we hear a familiar, extremely stereotypical piece of chinoiserie known as the Oriental riff, or Chinese riff, often used to mark a song or situation as having Asian components. You can hear it featured in the 1974 song Kung Fu Fighting and the 1980 song Turning Japanese. But it didn't start there. This 9-tone riff, or some variation of it, can be heard as early as 1847 in the grand Chinese spectacle of Aladdin, as well as in various and very racist cartoons from the early 1900s. Martin Nielsen, a web designer and pianist who's devoted much time researching this musical pattern, defines the riff as any melody whose first 4 tones are identical, while the other tones move around on a pentatonic scale. We hear this Far East proto-cliché, as Nielsen calls it, in the original version of Ojos Chinos, where El Gran Combo uses the 4 identical tone riff at the beginning. Let's listen to a clip of this from the original 1964 version. Since then, the song has been modified into the current popular version to sound more Asian by introducing the more obvious 9-tone Oriental riff. This 9-tone riff sounds to me more like a poor emulation of the traditional Chinese instrument pipa, or Chinese lute. Let's listen to a sound clip of a pipa for comparison. We also hear some slower tones, which are meant to sound Chinese, which upon further thought sound like an attempted emulation of the guzheng, or Chinese zither. Here's an example of the guzheng, hear for yourself. Accompanying the slower tones, we hear cymbals used as accents, which I can only guess are emulating sounds of a gong. This is another common way in which music has been made to sound Chinese or Asian throughout history.
El Gran Combo sings: Como chino quisiera quererte, porque sin ti prefiero la muerte, y no habrá sol, China, si no te quedas conmigo.
Like a Chinese man, I want to love you, because without you, I'd rather die, and there would be no sun, China, if you didn't stay with me. Throughout the song, we hear a collage of very affectionate lyrics, with problematic fake accents and oriental-seeming tones. That's what's so confusing and complicated about this song. On one hand, it shows love and affection towards an Asian woman. On the other, it is using racialized sounds and making fun of the Asian accent. There's a disconnect between what seems to be the intention of the song and the execution of that intention.
El Gran Combo sings: China, por Dios te lo pido, tú no me dejes, no me abandones, tú no me eches al olvido, yo me casaré contigo. Chinito quiere a Chinita, Chinita quiere a Chinito.
China, in the name of God, I beg you, don't leave, don't abandon me, don't sink me into oblivion. I will marry you. Chinito loves the Chinita, Chinita loves the Chinito.
Alright, we made it to the end of the song. You may have noticed that the fake Chinese accent in Spanish is sprinkled throughout the song. For instance, the singer says corazón instead of corazón, leina instead of reina. A puzzling detail of this fake accent is that Puerto Rican accent in Spanish is sometimes stereotyped by doing exactly the same thing, by pronouncing the letter R as an L. So one cannot rule out a self-own here.
As Andres mentioned earlier, the song was first introduced in the 1964 album Ojos Chinos, Hala Hala. The cover art of the album is a blatant example of yellowface. The title is written in wonton font, a racialized font emulating the brushstrokes of Chinese characters. It displays the band members gathered around who seems to be Rafael Itier, dressed up in a long patterned tunic, a Qing Dynasty-styled hat, and a long single braid. Two of the band members are pulling on his braid, while a few others laugh and point at him. It is this cover art, plus the Oriental riff, plus the poor attempts at emulating Asian sounds, plus the loud fake Asian accent, that all together create a problematic racialized representation of Orientalism in this song. If you aren't listening carefully, Ojos Chinos sounds like a nice salsa song with an Asian focus. But once you dig into it, you realize that the representation of Asian culture flirts between love and mockery. I'm not Asian-Hispanic, so there are nuances of this song that I may not understand. But I've always felt a little uncomfortable hearing Ojos Chinos in socials. But after working on this episode, I believe that it's best to not endorse this song, and songs like it, because of how insensitive it is to Asians. I invite you all to examine how you participate in cultures that are not your own. As a guest of Afro-Latin culture, I now have to do my work to show appreciation, honor the roots, and examine my own biases about Hispanic and Black people. I try not to buy into the model minority myth that pits Asians against other people of color, and instead try to unlearn my own biases. Exploring Ojos Chinos has opened my Ojos Chinos, get it? Not only about the song, but also about the process of developing a Were You Listening episode. There is so much knowledge and background to these songs and the culture. I felt myself getting sucked into the research and wanting to include everything. But these episodes are short, so chop chop. Working on Ojos Chinos, as well as our Hong Kong Mambo single, has empowered me to connect more to my roots, learn my Asian American history, and actively work to uplift my fellow AAPI community. As we resume our regular Season 2 content exploring different Afro-Latin and African rhythms in May, please don't forget to still show your AAPI community some love and appreciation.
What a song, ain't it? I hope you all enjoyed the journey through it with its massive blind spots and its love for the chinita. If you enjoyed hearing about Asian and Asian-Hispanic references in Latin music, I have a gift for you. I have curated a playlist called Arroz con Salsa on Spotify with more than 25 songs which make such references. Test your skills and try to recognize when the singers use either meaning of the word China or Chino. We'll add a link to the playlist in the info of this episode. Check it out, give it a like, and if you find more songs to include in the list, send them my way. Thank you for being here with us today. If you weren't listening, now you are.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To hear today's song or other songs featured on our Were You Listening series, check out the Were You Listening playlist, which can be found at our website, tarheels.live/mixtape podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at mixtape.podcast, as well as Twitter and YouTube, which are easily accessed through our website. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for our posts. Thanks for listening. This is Mixtape.